Bristol Community College, Mathematics with Dan Avedikian, Math 132, Calculus with Applications, Section 12.1, Problem 26. This is Section 12.1, Problem number 26. It says, consider the function f of x equals x to the third minus 5x squared plus 8x minus 7. Part A, find f prime of x when x is negative 1. Part B, find f prime of x when x is positive 3. And part C, find f prime of x when x is 0. So first, let's actually find f prime of x, and then we'll go back and do parts A, B, C. So let's start with the function that's given in the problem. F of x equals x to the third minus 5x to the second plus 8x minus 7. So let's do the derivative. So now I'm going to get f prime of x equals, so the x to the third, the pattern is the exponent should come down times the number in front. Now there is no number in front written, x to the third, but you can assume it's a 1. It's really a 1x to the third. So the 3 comes down times the number in front, which is the one that's not written. 3 times 1 is 3. X to 1 less power, so 3 to 1 less power is second power. And now minus 5x to the second. So same process, the exponent, which is the 2, comes down times the number in front, which is a negative 5. Pay attention to the sign. You have minus 10x to the first power, which we can just really leave as minus 10x. You don't have to write first power. The 8x becomes just 8. Again, when you have an x to the first power, when you do the derivative, the answer is just the number in front, which in this case is the 8. Again, pay attention to the sign, it's plus 8. The minus 7 on the end, when you do the derivative, just becomes 0. And we don't have to write it because 3x squared minus 10x plus 8 minus 0 is really, just doesn't change. It's still 3x squared minus 10x plus 8. So now that's the f prime, that's the derivative. Now let's take my answer for f prime and go back and do part A, part B, part C. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write some lines in to keep my work separate and keep it somewhat neat. So f prime of x is 3x squared minus 10x plus 8. Let's see what happens to that f prime of x when I use a negative 1 for x. So f prime of negative 1 equals 3x squared is 3 times negative 1 squared. Then minus 10 times x is minus 10 times negative 1. And you have a plus 8 on the end. So here's where you're going to have to pay attention to your signs. Be careful. So negative 1 second power is positive 1 times the 3 in front. So positive 1 times 3 is 3. Then negative 10 times negative 1 is plus 10. And you have a plus 8. So now 3 plus 10 is 13, then plus 8 more is 21. So f prime of x when x is negative 1 is positive 21. Part B, use your f prime of x to find the value when x is positive 3. So same process. Take f prime of x equals 3x squared minus 10x plus 8. Put in a 3 everywhere that you have an x. Do the math and see what you get. So f prime of 3 equals 3 times x squared becomes 3 times 3 squared. Minus 10 times x will be minus 10 times 3. And then plus 8. So the first part, 3 times 3 squared. So do the exponent first. 3 squared is 9. Times the 3 in front. So 9 times 3 is 27. Then minus 10 times positive 3 is minus 30. And then plus 8 on the end. So positive 27 minus 30 is negative 3. Negative 3 added to 8 is going to be positive 5. So f prime of x when x is 3 comes out to 5. And finally, find f prime of x when x is 0. So take my f prime of x and put in a 0. F prime of 0 equals 3x squared becomes 3 times 0 squared. Minus 10 times x is minus 10 times 0. And then plus 8. Well, the zeros are easy. 0 squared times 3 is 0. Minus 10 times 0 is another 0. Yeah, plus 8. So 0 minus 0 plus 8 is just 8. So f prime of x when x is 0 is positive 8.